Hey everyone, it's Chris here at Numa Coffee Roasters, and we're just a few feet away from the roaster, but over here on the bar side where we like to brew coffee, do tastings, kind of evaluate each the roasted coffee of the week and all that. We also like to bring little videos, what I call brewtorials, brewing tutorials to help you brew better coffee at home or wherever you're brewing coffee. So today we want to talk about a classic brew method, the French press. So the French press has been around nearly 100 years now. I think just 10 years shy of 100 years or something like that. But it's a classic method for brewing coffee. So first of all, let's talk about the French press. It's usually a glass press, but it could be a stainless steel design. Some French presses are thermal, and they keep the coffee hot a little bit longer or whatever. But this is kind of a classic model, and so this is what we're going to look at today. Some of the great things about a French press, you end up with a little bit of a heavier bodied cup of coffee. You tend to get like the full sort of flavor that a coffee offers. You can get that experience out of a French press. Because it uses a metal screen filter to filter the coffee here and not a paper filter, you end up allowing more of the coffee oils and particles to flow in, and that adds to the body. That's why we call it a heavy-bodied cup of coffee, a brewing method. So those are great things about the French press. It's simple, it's kind of classic. What are the cons? The negative things about a French press? Mainly it's glass. This thing breaks easily. It's a little bit hard to clean up, so after you're done and you're trying to get all the grounds out of the bottom, just don't try to dig those out with a butter knife or something metal, because you might crack the glass insert there. So anyway, clean up and the glass, that sort of thing is the main drawbacks to it. But it's really a great brewing method, and what I want to share with you today is a coffee that we just roasted a sample of. It's a Peruvian coffee. And so let's talk a little bit about, the fundamentals of brewing coffee with just about any method is the freshness of the coffee. So we've got a coffee that was roasted just a couple of days ago. So we've got a very fresh coffee. It's still whole bean. And, we recommend not grinding coffee until you're ready to brew it. If you have your own grinder, you can do that. If you don't, then find one. We can help you find a grinder. So the freshness. And the next really important thing is the grind. So the size of the particles, how fine you grind the coffee. This makes it very important to have a burr grinder. A burr grinder has burrs, conical or flat burrs, there's ceramic burrs, there's different kinds of burr grinders, but you want a burr grinder where you can adjust how far apart the burrs are from each other, because that provides consistent grind size particles when you're grinding the coffee. If you're using a burr grinder that just has the little blades that spin around on the bottom, that's just a little chopper. That's a food processor for coffee. And maybe that's better than not having fresh ground coffee, but you're going to get all kinds of different particle sizes with a blade grinder. You can't control how big the chunks of coffee are, so that's going to lead to problems. The other big thing with coffee is your water. So you want to have fresh, filtered water. And so get the best water you can, and then the temperature of that water should be between 195 to 205 degrees. And so I like to brew coffee around 200 to 203. And I've got a little variable temperature kettle that Bonavita makes. That's great for getting your water just at the right temperature. If you don't have a fancy kettle, that's okay. You can just heat up water, boil the water on the stove with an old-fashioned tea kettle or whatever. And then once the water's boiling, just let it cool down for about a minute, so it's in the 200 to 205 temperature range. So good filtered water, heat it up to the right temperature. We got fresh coffee that we're going to grind. And I've weighed out about, I've got 20 grams of coffee here, or actually, I'm sorry, 40 grams. 40 grams of coffee, and I'm going for about a 20-ounce brew volume. So I want 20 ounces of coffee when I'm done. So I use a little formula sometimes. Whatever I want 20 ounces. So double that, you get 40, but turn that into grams. So 40 grams of coffee. Now you can convert that into tablespoons too. I think a tablespoon of coffee is about 14 grams, 15 grams, something like that. But anyway, so I got 40 grams of coffee. Now when you get coffee ground for a French press, you want it pretty coarse. So I've set the grind setting there to very coarse, and you can see sort of the particle sizes on that. It's pretty chunky. Kind of looks like breadcrumbs. It's definitely chunkier than like sea salt. It's a little bit chunkier than that. So good. Okay, you also want to warm up your French press first, so I've got some hot water here. I'm going to warm up the press real quick. All right. Now I'm using a scale here to just kind of precisely weigh out everything, because that's what coffee geeks do. All right, so we got the freshly ground coffee. This is heated up. And the heat is important because you don't want to lose a lot of your brewing temperature initially just to warm up your vessel, your brewing vessel. All right, so now I've got my 200 degree water. I'm going to tear the scale to 0 because I know I'm going for 20 ounces, which is about 585 grams of water. So I'm going to add about half of my water here. Just like to saturate the grounds pretty good. So there we go. I'm about 300 grams. I'm a little over halfway. Now at this point, you want to give this a little stir. And I have a cupping spoon handy, so I'm going to use this. But I recommend not using metal objects to stir inside of this glass vessel. But I'm going to be real careful. And just so you know, I've also started a timer. A brewing timer. So I like to, with the French press, I like to give it a stir as I add about half of the water. Now we're going to finish adding water up to our mark of like 20 ounces or 585 grams, which is about this entire, ran out. I probably had enough water in the kettle and then I let it heat too long and some of it steamed out or evaporated. All right, but we're going up to 585, 20 ounces. And this is a 20 ounce French press. This is a smaller, I think a 6-cup French press. So now we're just gonna add, lay the top of this with the filter. Don't plunge it yet, just leave it like that. And we're gonna let that brew for about 4 minutes. Now some people like to stop the brewing a little sooner, to do a 3-minute. Some people let it go over 4 minutes. That's something that's kind of up to you and your taste, and you can change, vary that accordingly if you'd like. If you do for 4 minutes and you think it's over extracted or it's a little too bitter or this or that, you can, next time do it for 3 minutes, 3.5, and give that a try. Okay, but we're going to let this go basically 4 minutes. Basically what we're going for, whenever you're brewing coffee, you're trying to dissolve things into water. So you're making a solution, a coffee solution. The ideal extraction you end up with in a cup of coffee is 18 to 22%. What that means is when we're done, 18 to 22% of the total dissolvable things in the coffee bean we want to be in the water. So there's things that affect that. If your grind is too fine, you may end up over extracting. You may end up getting 30% of the bean particles, in the coffee, and that's going to be over extracted, too dark, too strong, too bitter. If you under extract it, and this could be because the grind was too coarse, or typically with this method it could be because you didn't steep it long enough or your water wasn't hot enough. The water temperature recommendation that we make is also because that's the ideal temperature for extracting these things out of the coffee bean. So creating this perfect solution, you got to get the grind size right, your water temperature right, you want the ratio of water to coffee just right so that you get 18 to 22% of all the solids that could be dissolved out of a coffee bean, you get that into your coffee solution, which we just call coffee, right? So that's what we're going for. Let's check on the time. All right, we've got just a few more, maybe 20 more seconds here to get to our 4-minute brew time. Now I don't some people like to take the cap off and stir this before you press the plunger down. I don't recommend that because then you're over agitating the coffee. You can over extract at that point. All right, we're at 4 minutes. So now you just want to press down on the plunger, and you want to press fairly gently. Don't really press this too hard because you can end up breaking the mechanism by doing that. If you're pressing down and it's difficult to press down, that's a sign that maybe your grind was too fine. This is pressing down pretty easy, so we had a nice coarse grind here. All right, so there we go. I've got about 20 ounces of French press coffee, kind of a heavy-bodied coffee, ready to go. Just because this glass is handy, I'm going to go ahead and pour a little bit in here and give it a try. Hey, thanks for watching our video today, and I hope that you enjoy some great cups of coffee at home. Definitely let us know if you have questions or comments. You can leave those here on the website, on the YouTube channel, or wherever. And we'd love to interact with you. But you can order coffee at numacoffee.com, and we hope to be shipping some coffee to you soon. But enjoy your French press.